Good morning, Aussies. If you dare to be up right now during my morning live stream, it's Tuesday, 6:30 a.m. A lot of you guys come from America, 55% of you. I say welcome wherever you are. Let's do our check-ins now. Let's get this thing marinating. I got a lot of time this morning. My Tuesday mornings, I've set up over the last few weeks to have a bigger block to stay live. And we got a lot to talk about. If you're following the channel already, you would have seen my breakdown analysis of a fight happening Wednesday night here in Australia between Liam Wilson, he's fighting, and the Liam Perro fight is, I'm going to be uploading it today, and then also Floyd Schofield versus Tevin Farmer. So we have a lot to talk about, guys. We have a big week of boxing. My sports book this morning has opened method of victory options for the Liam Perro fight and the Liam Wilson fight, but nothing yet for the weekend. So let's start building this. AC in the house. What's up, Tweez? No picks. I appreciate everybody tapping in. The last time I was in Atlantic City, I was in the third or fourth row to watch my buddy Kelly Pavlik beat Jermaine Taylor. This was many, many moons ago when we were in our 20s. But I have fond memories of the boardwalk in AC. Great boxing there. DJ's in the house. PJ's in the house. I'm already seeing options for the Farmer fight. People like the plus money. DJ Green, I appreciate you. Guys, everybody supporting the channel. As you tune in, as you tap in, let's like this video. The questions are coming in. David Eister. Fortunately, David, when a lot of these, I don't want to call it obscure fights, but Callum Walsh on my money line, and I talk about this all the time, we don't get options for method of victories a lot on these sort of like, the way my book also categorizes the fights. This is a question to ask you boys, wherever you are in the world, on your betting apps, does it categorize the fights in classes? So mine are in class A, class B, class C. So when I go to boxing, all sports, NBA, rugby, etc., I click on boxing, it'll say all boxing, and then it'll say A, B, C. And generally, the boxing under the C and the B will only be money line options. So fortunately, they don't give us the option to get burned on sort of like non-main event, non-world ranked fights. But yeah, I know Callum Walsh was a huge favorite. And guys, if you know anything about his career, that's Dana White. That's the UFC Fight Pass. They are, bringing him along and giving him a lot of publicity. And, with that comes a lot of the backlash in terms of who is he fighting. So that's all I'm going to say about that. All any fighter could do is beat who they put in front of them. And we know sometimes, more often than not actually, not every fighter could do that. So as long as a fighter continues on that winning trajectory, however he gets the dub, I tip my hat. Technical decision, he won the fight on a cut. I've never seen anything like that on my books. Yeah, I'll screenshot it for you guys. So, for instance, I'm not as tech savvy as you guys might think. I'm being completely honest. And I've spoken about this before. Regarding technology, my strength, especially on this platform, comes from editing. Being able to, I'm really good behind a professional camera. So filming documentaries, I'm really good at. Audio, color blending, layering, editing, transitioning. That being said, I still don't know how to work the live stream function to bring up a screen on my screen. So I don't know how to do it. So for now, I have my laptop and I'm going to tell you. So Liam Wilson, so under the A, B, and C fights, the only grade A fights this week, they have Christian Mabili as a grade A fight, Floyd Schofield, Gilbert Ramirez. Everything else is B and C. Who do you got, PJ? Pascal probably has the reach. I don't know if I'm going to bet on the John Pascal fight. I know a lot of you guys have been asking about that fight. I'm making adjustments this week on my long parlay, and I'm making adjustments on how heavy or how light I go. So a couple lessons I learned last week and the week before and the week before, where I'm getting, I'm not, all my wins have come on sort of method of victory, 3 to 4 leg parlays, my big wins. And the losses lately have been like, $1.07 here. The Christian Arenado was a 50-50 fight. The Galalia 5 fight was one of those pick'ems as well. But I think this week when I'm building my long parlay, I'm going to avoid like the $2s, $7s, just because the juice isn't worth the squeeze. Yeah, Michael Lesiak is a favorite here, guys. Yeah, John Pascal's up there, boys. He's up there in age. And I even hear rumors floating around the boxing space that you guys like Zerto to get upset against Dorticos. That's interesting. If I wasn't for that pick out Polish guy, yeah, we definitely not putting water in no parlays. There you go, DJ. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. See, we have to have boundaries. As long as we stick to our boundaries and formats. Look, betting is risky, but I think the skill within the betting in terms of, you know, how much money we go in and how much money we go out, I think the skill over a long period of time isn't necessarily, this isn't supposed to sound controversial, the skill isn't necessarily picking the winning fighter. I think over a long period of time, the skill is knowing when to pull the trigger of how much to bet, how heavy to go versus how light to go. You know what I'm saying? And I know for me, when I do hit, that always feels better. Like if I pull the trigger on like a 4-leg parlay and I put a lot on it and it hits, that feels better than sometimes hitting like, and let's say that 4-leg parlay was a 7-1. That 4-leg parlay when it hits feels better than like a 12-leg when the 12-leg is 2-1. When you fill it up with like $4s and $6s. So we'll see. Rando in the house, Cigar in the house. Right now, guys, we could talk about, let's take a couple minutes. Let's stay focused. Tevin Farmer versus Floyd Schofield. I'm uploading my video in the next 24 hours because I have Liam Perro coming up next on the Fight Predictions playlist. But Schofield versus Farmer, I've done my film study. I want to hear your feedback on this. When you look at the fight styles, when you look at how they go about their business, the main thing that jumps off that we have to talk about is the age. Farmer will be 35. Schofield's 22. With that age comes experience, fight IQ, resume. All of that matters. When you break down Floyd Schofield's resume, I mean, there's not much there. And, you know, he has knockouts on his resume, but you wouldn't really call him a knockout artist yet. And at 22 years old, I feel he's still, I mean, he's a work in progress. He's definitely a work in progress regarding his fight style. He has all the talent in the world. Explosivity, footwork, movement. With Farmer, he's a finished product, meaning that we could go into this fight and dissect how we could see paths to victory. We know what we get from Tevin Farmer. He likes boxing off of the back foot. He's a good mover. He's really smart in there. He's lost a lot of close fights, but even then, look at his, you know, he held the world title for a few years until he lost it to Joe Diaz. He had a couple title defenses. He won a vacant title, had a couple title defenses, lost it to Joseph Diaz, I believe, and he's been trying to get it back. He's coming off 3 losses in a row. Decisions, right? And look who he's lost. He's lost twice to Zepeda and once to Raymond Murataya. Nothing to gawk at. Who is his best victories? You know, as a world champion, all you'd have to say is he's been a world champion. So I had somebody debating me about the resumes, and I'm like, when you have a younger guy who's never been a world champion, fighting a guy, no matter where he is in his career, who's been a world champion, the resume, without a conversation, goes to that guy. So we know Farmer is that guy. Is he as fast as he was when he was 27, 28? I don't know. But guys, lately, I'm not doing that well on these old-timers versus young bucks matchups. With the last 2 old-timers and young bucks, and not always with age. I know Donaire was way older than Campos, and we lost that fight. I went with the younger fighter. And then this past weekend, Galalia fight, even though he was 32 and Rodriguez Jr. was 32, I used that tread on tire narrative to reason with my pick, and I lost that fight. Right now, my instinct is leaning on Farmer based off of the fight IQ and the ring experience and what I haven't seen from Schofield. Now, is this a matchup for Schofield to go in there and have a great performance? I think so. We'll see what happens. This isn't time to sign with an oldie. Purple Posse, what's up, buddy? All right, so I'm going to leave it for you guys. Right now, we're going to take about the next minute. Sell me on who wins, Farmer or Floyd, and tell me why. I'll let you guys go. I'll just tell everybody, like this video, guys, wherever you're tuning in. We're 10 minutes in. It's just getting hot, just getting heated. We're going to be going for a while this morning. So right now, the mic is open for you guys. The floor is open. Tell me who wins, Farmer or Schofield, and I want to know why. I want a path to victory. Because I can see a path to victory. I think Farmer's path to victory is more clear based on how he goes about his business. And I'm not going to agree. I saw somebody that said Zepeda won every round in the last fight. I disagree. I thought that fight was close. That don't matter if Schofield knocks him out. Okay, so I got one person saying Schofield's going to knock him out. His last knockout was against Ricardo Torres in 2023. Torres was a 17-7 guy. Farmer experience and activity. He dropped Zepeda, didn't he? Did. Schofield faster, hands better, jab, younger, stronger, just going out, perform Farmer. Mac, okay. So Mac's leaning on that energy. Don't disgrace that Floyd isn't totally proven yet. He's not has to come at some point. Purple pause. Okay. Okay, so I see the last four leaning on Floyd. And you all bring up valid points. Some of the points are predicting a preemptive stoppage. Some of the points are saying, based on that skill set and that energy, that should be enough to get Farmer out of there. Anybody seeing a Farmer path to victory? Because you'd have to think that he's going to be winning rounds, right? Farmer is crafty, so Floyd has to knock him out. Okay, has to prove he has the experience to handle a style like Tevin. It's a world-class style. That was my point, Meech. Tevin is bringing into the ring a world-class style, and this is my favorite thing about the young buck versus the old head matchup in boxing. It's a matchup that goes back, millennia. Is that no matter what happens with Schofield, whether he wins or loses, no matter how it goes, he's going to leave the fight in a better spot because he's getting all of that. He's going to see things from Farmer that he hasn't seen before. Win Santiago, Farmer by decision. Yeah, Farmer, hopefully he doesn't get robbed. He has a lot of close losses. Farmer looked really rough again. I thought Farmer looked good against Zepeda. I like the over in this one. Chinchilla. Yep. I don't mind that. I like it to go the distance as well. So if I'm thinking prop bets, because I'm rather than picking a winner, I like the over or the fight to go the distance. I don't see Schofield stopping Farmer, and I don't see Farmer stopping Schofield. But then again, if Schofield doesn't stop Farmer, do you guys see Schofield winning rounds to win the fight? The Floyd Schofield fan. So I'm thinking that the guys thinking Floyd's going to win. He's going to stop him, right? So Tevin Farmer got stopped twice. His very first fight in 2011. And then in 2012 against Jose Pedraza. Since then, he's lost 3 in a row and lost to Joseph Diaz. So since 2012, 13 years, he has 4 losses. Lost his title to Joe Diaz and lost 3 in a row, 2 to Zepeda, and then Raymond Murataya. Yeah, Thomas Moran, they got him categorized as grade A, grade B, grade C fights. I'll screenshot it for you guys and put it up in the community section so you can see. When I'm watching, guys, rewatch the Farmer versus Zepeda film study. Even though Farmer lost both fights, I left both fights. And going into both fights, I picked Zepeda to beat Farmer both times. And I'm high on Zepeda. And this isn't trashing William Zepeda. But after the 2 fights, I actually thought Zepeda kind of dropped a level in my eyes after the Farmer fights. I'm not going to lie. We need to factor in Schofield tried to fight David, didn't start boxing until 19. Farmer weakness. Probably lacking one-punch knockout power. Farmer's weakness, doing enough to win rounds sometimes because he loses close decisions. Farmer didn't win a single round until the 12th against Zepeda? I don't know, man. Farmer 33-8. Well, when you look at that record, like I told you, he lost his first fight ever in 2012. His last 6 fights, he's lost 4 of them. 2 to Zepeda, 1 to Raymond Murataya. Farmer lost 8 times. He's not beat. So I don't like that, Mac. I don't like your reasoning there. I don't like the idea that because we're looking at a veteran's overall record and he has X amount of losses, that's your reasoning that he's not going to beat Schofield. That's a very flawed narrative, because that in itself gives the Tevin Farmer fans credence on why he's going to win, because he's had tougher fights, because he's been a world champion, because he knows how to navigate through throughout the ring. I think what nobody's bringing up is how Tevin Farmer also uses the entire ring, how he's able to move left to right laterally, how he likes fighting off the back foot, how he can counter. Right with Floyd, he does a lot of things well, but what does Floyd do? What's Floyd great at? Rodriguez is 39. Exactly. I thought Farmer beat Murataya. It was a close fight. It's a huge step up for Floyd. 22 years old, guys. And Farmer's been more active than Floyd. They're going to give it to Floyd, I'm telling you. Zepeda beat him every round. I don't agree with that, Mac. I don't think Zepeda beat him every round. I picked Zepeda to win, and I won a lot of money on Zepeda. But what I'm telling you, though, is when Zepeda going into those 2 Farmer fights, look at Zepeda's knockout to win ratio going into those fights. People thought he was going to stop him, and he couldn't. He couldn't get him out of there. I don't see Floyd stopping him. The one thing Zepeda doesn't have one-punch knockout power, but he drowns you. That pressure is ridiculous. His pace is ridiculous. He's in your face constantly, and Schofield handled that pretty well for 2 fights. This is a 10-rounder. Yeah, it's a 10-rounder. Does Floyd win a close fight if they both equally? See, Kivo, we talk about this on the channel that historically when you look at Schofield's resume, he does a lot of his losses are decisions. Close decisions, to where sometimes fighters get caught in this sort of nuanced trajectory. Think about Sandor Martin. I bring him up all the time. Loses a lot of close decisions. Floyd Schofield loses a lot of decisions, and sometimes that kind of sticks with you. I don't know if it's like an unspoken thing with the judges or if it's just a coincidence. But if it is a close fight, I think it's going to go to Schofield. So that being said, you'd have to think that Farmer's going to have to, I think Farmer's going to try to big brother him early. I don't see a 34, 35-year-old Farmer going to be patient with Schofield. He's going to want to get Schofield's respect early. He's going to want to take the center. And I think that he's going to be the master craftsman in there. He should be able to do what he wants in terms of his footwork and movement patterns. And he's going to have to see if he can take that power. But we see, dude, Farmer could take a shot. Farmer could take a shot. And are you saying Schofield when you mean Farmer? Jacoba, about Farmer doesn't come to just collect paydays, though. Yeah, Farmer has a chin. I'm saying Farmer. I'm staying away from it. This fight makes no sense. Clearly, Farmer's the best. Exactly. Schofield will rely on his power to get him out of the fight, assuming it's real. Assuming it's real. See, this is... Oh, God. This is the whole Jake Paul... Guys, this is on the Jake Paul card. Yeah, I know. Farmer... Yeah, so I meant Farmer fought Zepeda. If I said Schofield, that's who I meant. This is on the Jake Paul undercard. I don't think so. I'm late right now. I think Tevin Farmer is a level above. But Mac, what you said, if this were a 12-rounder, it would lean towards Farmer. Because it's a 10-rounder, it leads towards Schofield because of his fight style. But Mac, what is Floyd's fight style? Like Floyd Schofield, when you watch him, what does he do? He's strong. I mean, he's not really seasoned. He's far from a finished product. What does he do really, really well? Because if that's your reasoning, and your reasoning isn't for Floyd to knock Farmer out, I don't see Floyd winning more rounds than Farmer. I don't see Schofield winning more rounds than Farmer. I just don't see him outboxing him. I don't think he's the better boxer. Because if this is coming down to who's the better boxer, it's definitely Tevin Farmer. just got here. No, the Australian card, Vega. We got into a bit, Daniel. Daniel, if you just hit the live stream, go to my fight prediction playlist and check out my upload of I tell you about the Liam Wilson fight. Scoffield got dropped in his last fight. For who, though, is the question. Who's faster? I mean, I don't necessarily think it's not about who's faster. It's what I always talk about. It's who has the better timing. Who has the better timing? Because speed isn't all. I put speed. If you take speed and timing and power, I still put timing over speed and power. Because timing, if you have world-class timing, timing will create and set up knockouts. Speed without timing is just wasted movements. And you get timing from experience. 100% TJ. That's what I'm saying. So I'm just trying to break down the narratives here. Standard fighter swings big. I think that a Floyd gets a lot of pub because of how he looks. He ticks a lot of boxes in terms of marketing, social media. He's young. The father does a lot of Auntie Sco does a lot of talking. Shout out to Greg Hackett. Guys, wherever you're tuning in, we're about 20 minutes in. Like this video. Let me know. Right now, the chat is all about Schofield versus Farmer. But guys, tomorrow night, Liam Wilson's fighting. Liam Perro's fighting. There's another Aussie prospect that I cover on the channel who's fighting. So, Kieran Rustin. Dude, if you guys haven't seen Kieran Rustin fight, Kieran Rustin's a dog. He's an Aussie prospect. Right now, he's just, a domestic guy. But viral knockout after viral knockout. He's a good guy to watch. But Johnny, the better boxer technician, doesn't always win. I agree. But that, TJ, I agree. The better boxer, better technician doesn't always win. I think that narrative is accurate when we're dealing with polished world-class boxers. Floyd Schofield isn't polished. Floyd Schofield, in my opinion, is still trying to figure out who he is, what his brand is inside of the ring. So when you take that into consideration up against, we know who Farmer is. We know who Farmer is. It's a tricky fight. Let's let this die off before we go to Liam Wilson. Because, I uploaded my Wilson breakdown. We could get into it more in depth here if you want. It is a tricky fight. I want to close the Schofield versus Farmer off for now because I'm going to be going live again later and I'm uploading my breakdown. So, sprinkling on the draw, Chinchilla. I like the contrarian style. Right now it's 16-1 down here in Australia, the draw. Farmer. So, yeah, the best boxer, the best technician doesn't always win. But when you look at that reasoning, that only works, like I said, usually in world title fights at the world-class level when you're either facing a world-class boxer-puncher, a world-class guy with one-punch knockout power. Schofield's neither one of those. Not yet. He has a long way to go, though. He's young. Very young. Insane how young he is. Is it too much too soon? Because you know what a veteran could do in there. Yeah, Curiel, TJ Curiel's fighting on that undercard. I like that undercard. There's a lot of fun fights on that undercard. I stay away from the Ali. I stay away from any grandson lineage of Ali. My buddy from Youngstown, Danny Feelgood Hollywood Rosenberger beat Nico Walsh. And it was such a robbery. People ask me, what's the biggest robbery you've seen? I bring up the most obscure fight. It was, I think, 2 years ago. Danny Feelgood Hollywood Rosenberger. Enjoy your retirement, kid. Fought Nico Walsh. Beat him every round. They called it a draw, and then they overturned it. But seriously, man, I don't see Floyd beating Farmer. Rando, I don't either. I don't either. We'll see. All right, Liam Wilson's fighting Ayrton Jimenez. Ayrton Jimenez is a one-loss Argentinian fighter. I know. That's what I said, Manny. I'm just saying I don't mess with any of the Ali Bashi. I don't mess with any of the Ali lineage in gambling. I'm not saying they're not good. I don't gamble on any of the Ali lineage in gambling. That's it. Out of respect for Muhammad. Come on. Schofield, Duck Stevenson. I know. No one's brought that up, history. No one's brought that up. No one's brought up the marketing ploy. I posted it on our channel of Floyd in the hospital bed. So TJ, not just world class I'm referring to. Almost everyone ducks Shakur. Shakur's a nightmare puzzle to solve. Think about that problem. Think about, that's a good thing you bring up. I want to say something on that. He said everybody ducks Shakur because obviously Floyd Schofield, we know what happened. But think about the boxing casual mindset, the person who really doesn't know how to box or how boxing works, how they speak about Shakur. They just run with this false narrative from a lot of these clickbait channels about how Shakur's a runner and Shakur's weak and Shakur has soft hands and all this blah, blah, blah. But the boxer, the professional, the guy who gets paired up against Shakur, they know what they have to offer and they know their skill set and they know if they get paired up against Shakur, that puzzle that has to be solved. All that, the timing, cutting off the ring, the countering, the movement. And they know if they can't do one of those things, they're going to look like a fool in front of the whole world. And so this is why a lot of people don't want that matchup. I understand. It's a brutal matchup. You have to think that, it's definitely tough for him to get fights. Mason's cousin, too. But I don't know if we're talking about Shakur's cousin, Zaquan Moses. You think he'll bear the Ramizi? I have to break people. What happened to all the love for Zerto? Like 2 years ago, I still like Zerto, but I'm seeing this shift in the narrative of like all of a sudden people are saying Zerto's a scrub, and I'm like, what? This is interesting. Yeah, I think Zerto. I mean, Zerto's a good boxer. Loma 100% duck Shakur, turned down his highest payday ever while both were under top rank just to fight Campbell a month later. TJ, I mean, we got receipts, don't we? You can pull the receipts out with the Shakur narrative. Based off of, if you've never thrown a punch or never been hit with a punch, I got you, Purple Posse. If you've never thrown a punch or been hit with a punch, this is why a lot of YouTube clickbait channels have such big followings, because they adhere to the non-thinker, the non-really boxer-minded person. And so it's easy to see on paper how you can manipulate a narrative saying that Shakur is a runner, or Shakur does this, or he's not a good boxer, or I could beat Shakur Stevenson. It's like, dude, you're out of your mind. Like, we know. Boxing is high-level problem-solving in the moment with dire consequences. That's what boxing is. World-class boxing. Highest level of problem-solving. I'm talking like chess-level problem-solving, but with dire consequences. You could get killed in there. Chess, there's no physical threat, right? Any problem-solving generally, no physical threat. But boxing, hot, and this is what separates a guy with that sort of that tool bag. So I'm not saying people are aging him out, but the thing with Shakur's skill set is we know the skills, the reflexes, the speed is a younger man's toolbox. He's, what is he, 27, going to be 28? I bet you a lot more people will be calling his name out in the next few years rather than right now. Shakur's pocket game, oh my God. Do you guys watch much tape on, I brought him up yesterday on the live stream, on James Toney. So James Toney was in James Toney's prime, like 160, when he fought at 160 pounds, because Toney went all the way up to heavyweight. But when James Toney, Kivo, growing up, my favorite fighter was one of my favorite fighters was Pernell Whitaker, Sweet Pea. So Paul Spadafora, I was a little kid learning how to box, and I had to learn defense. So James Toney's pocket game, people forget, mate, DJ, people, like any chance I get, I'm going to bring up James Toney. And we brought up Shakur and what Shakur does in the pocket. But watch, you don't see many guys at 160 pounds plus with that pocket game, dude. Jesus. Yeah, I love watching James Toney's highlights. And unfortunately, the double-edged sword with that is it's well documented how he was able to polish those reflexes and that timing right here, is that all he did was spar. And you could see it, and it was beautiful to watch. But now, the head trauma, the CTE, the slurred speech, it's a conversation we need to have as fight fans that nobody likes talking about. Stand on the inside. Yes, DJ. And so when I brought up last week on the stream, I used the word mobility that I think some people, it kind of gets misconstrued in boxing. Mobility doesn't always mean movement. It's an interesting thing because I don't only just come from a boxing background. I come from a strength and conditioning background. So I'm a strength and conditioning coach. So in that realm, mobility isn't just being able to move. Mobility is being able to stand in one spot and sway here. Mobility. Not all fighters have mobility through the thoracic spine. Not all fighters have the mobility and range through their hips. Tony, mate. Tony was just nasty here, and then here, and then here. Like, one of my favorite guys to watch when James, and look at his record. Look at the names he has on his record and the weight classes of how he went up and who he fought. That era, yeah, I get hyped. That is, like I talked about it yesterday. No, so the difference, Meech, it's a great question. There's a big difference between flexibility and mobility. Flexibility is extension and contraction of muscles. Can I touch my toes? Flexibility. Can I have range here? Do I have full range of motion? Mobility is being able to move unilaterally. So thoracic spine, hips, being able to get off the center line asymmetrically. So it's a totally different thing. Mobility could be worked on. You could be born with good flexibility and not be mobile. So those are two different things. And it's a great question. It's an important thing to bring up. If you go on my playlist section on my channel and go under fitness, I have a whole mobility class that I teach corporates here in Australia. So it's a video series, but I go into like Westpac Bank, Suncorp banking, a lot of finances, big banks, multinational banks, and I teach this mobility class to their corporates. So holding stretches for an extended period of time, moving your body one side at a time, that sort of thing. Liam Wilson could get outboxed. I could see it, TJ. He's fighting. I like the Argentinians. I like the Argentinians' fight style. I do. I like what he brings to the table, Ayrton Jimenez. But what I don't like about him is I feel, TJ, to answer that question, I feel in terms of who he's fought and how he fights, I don't think he's the guy who he thinks he is. You know, he has that one loss against Michael Magness, and he keeps his hands down a lot. He uses the ring a lot. I like how he enters and exits the pocket. He's fun to watch, hits the jab, he floats. Real fun style. But he does a lot of things against low-level opponents that I feel Liam Wilson has seen. I think, you know, and I just think power versus power in terms of what he does really well versus what Jimenez does really well. Liam Wilson should figure him out. He just doesn't have any pop. Yeah. Magnus, he is good. He's good. It's, you know, it was a step up. He lost it. I get it. And Argentinian fighters, you know, they have a hit. They're good boxers. He's not a scrub. It's a tough fight. It's a tough fight. If you're leaning on the upset, it's good money right now. I think I already put action on that. So I got Liam Wilson at $1.20 on the money line. You seen Callum Peters? Be a little bit more specific. Like, have I seen him fight, or is there breaking news? Oh, you're saying okay, yeah, magnesium, yeah, Okay, so TJ, do it. Let's do boxing maths then. Let's do boxing maths. Ayrton's only loss was to Magnesi. His biggest step up. Magnesi lost to Kakachi. Okay. Liam Wilson, he loses to Navarrete. Controversial. Loses to Oscar Valdez. You know, in my opinion, where Liam Wilson falls short. Where Liam Wilson falls short is, I feel, I don't want to call it a low fight IQ. I don't want to call it a low fight IQ, but you know, if he keeps trending this way in his career, maybe I have to change my narrative. Because right now I call it an ego thing. I think where Liam Wilson falls short, and maybe that's because of lack of sparring, or maybe he needs to change coaches or needs to change camps, because maybe he's the bully in his gym. But where Liam Wilson falls short is that I don't know if he has. He's shown us one style, but everybody who's in the know about him talks about he has skills that he hasn't shown in the ring, because he falls in love with that power. He wants to walk you onto that lead hook. And he doesn't make adjustments. And yeah, he doesn't make adjustments. So I used to get, right now I'm still giving him the benefit of the doubt because sometimes with guys, you fight their egos, and then over this course of their career, they can make adjustments. I'm expecting Liam Wilson to have a really, really great fight, box a little bit more, be a little bit more patient, not rush his work, and catch Jimenez. I don't see Jimenez hurting him, but Jimenez can box and win rounds. So you bring up a great point, TJ. I'm not diminishing your pick. And if you do pick Ayrton Jimenez, I see why. But then, if we're going style versus style, then we're talking about fight IQ, game planning. Then we got to talk about boxing maths, who they fought. Then you have to bring up the other variables. And this could sound rudimentary to some of you, but then you have to talk about the travel from the Argentinian fighter. He just got here a few days ago, if you follow his Instagram. Then you got to talk about where the fight's at. Then you talk about what I don't like is how George Rose, the guy who is in charge of No Limit Boxing Promotions, Rose is already talking about Wilson getting past Jimenez and bringing Navarrete down. But even though Navarrete has to fight Charlie again, and Liam has a big fight in front of him, he should be on upset alert. TJ, you're not bringing up total nonsense. I'm comfortable with who I'm leaning with. I feel that with my own reasoning in my eye for the sport, I'd be going against my system as of now when I pick fighters to win or lose. And I think Liam's bag, because at the end of the day, even if you say Wilson's defense is leaky, I'm going to tell you the same thing about Jimenez. Jimenez's defense is leaky. I mean, the guy enters the pocket, guard down. He fights. He sometimes thinks he's like, I see he tries to be a little bit like, Roy Jones a bit when he jumps in with the hook. He tries to be a little bit like Josh Kelly, a little bit cute looking on the outside. But when he exits, his hands are down. Liam Wilson could crack. He could punch. So if we both say their defenses are leaky, we then have to say on both sides, all right, path to victory, Jimenez, defense is leaky. He gets through it, and he wins on points. So he gets through Liam Wilson's strength, his power, and he wins on points. Liam Wilson's defense is leaky. Okay, he runs onto some shots, but he doesn't get hurt because Jimenez, I think he has 4 stoppages, and then Wilson stops Jimenez. I still think if we're playing chess that way, I still lean on Wilson. My whole thing that I don't think Jimenez beats him. I think if Wilson loses, I think it'll be on Wilson that he loses. Sounds like I think there'll be a knockdown. If you get a knockdown prop, I love a knockdown prop on that. Like Liam Wilson's fun. Like he coming off those 2 fights against Yusuf Dib. Yusuf is Billy's younger brother. Billy Dib, former world champion. Ironically, it's all connected. Billy is the guy that Tevin Farmer came down here to Australia and beat Billy. That's how he became the IBF champ. Jay Tree. You see what I'm saying with Jimenez? He's fun. He's never been stopped. He only has 1 loss. But I think he's only 20. He's young too. What is he, 24? 25? 26 years old. The physical attributes are going to pretty much cancel themselves out. Wilson has about a 3-inch reach advantage. That's what it says on BoxRec. It's a fun fight. It's flying under the radar. It's a fun fight. I think Turkey Al-Sheikh in the house. We got to love our cloned accounts. Guys, it's been a great last week. We've had Showbiz in the house. We've had Shakur in the house. Now we should all welcome Turkey Al-Sheikh to the live stream. Guys, 40 minutes in. Let's like this video. Right now we're cooking on Liam Wilson versus Jimenez. PJ, that's what I talked about in my video. You look at resumes then. We talked about defenses. Talked about offensive bag. I'm out, Johnny. TJ emailed you back. All right, check it out, TJ. I appreciate you. I'll get back to your email. Bill Henney was in the house. Perp and Posse. So, guys, look at his record. Yeah, Aaron Jimenez, when you look at his record, I mean, the guys he's fought, 26-11, 5-1, 8-1, 10-3, 6-1, 12-rounder, 10-rounder, His resume, there aren't names that are going to jump off the page. Like I said, the biggest fight he's had, he lost against Magnesi, who, Magnesi's a good boxer. Out too. All right, Purple Posse, I'll get back to you. You email me too. I got some emails in here. To all you on the live stream that I haven't got back yet on the email, be patient with me. I'm trying to hit you guys one by one. I'm going to be doing a couple live streams this week with a couple guests, so stay tuned to that. If you haven't checked the fight prediction playlist out, last night I uploaded Liam Wilson versus Jimenez, breakdown, analysis, and prediction. David, so are people staying away from water this Friday? David, I got to be honest with you. I talked about it yesterday on the stream. I'm a hopeless romantic. I want to see Wilder win by knockout. I do. I mean, he's coming back for a reason. Are you betting on it? All right, now let's talk about Deontay Wilder, guys. The odds right now, Deontay Wilder, Terrell Herndon. And my sportsbook has this as a C-level fight. I talked about it at the beginning of the stream. They break it down in A, B, and C categorized. I wonder what they're using. I wonder what sort of algorithm they're using. Deontay Wilder's $1.08. Terrell Herndon is almost an 8-1 underdog. It is tempting. It is tempting. Wilder 43-4, 42 knockouts, guys. That's always a fun stat between Parker and Allen. I saw that history. I saw that. The hand history vault. Johnny, thoughts on a potential fight? Joseph Parker versus David Allen. Joseph Parker keeps getting slept on. It's right now he's had sort of this career renaissance, right? I think Joseph Parker's levels above David Allen. But last time I picked against David Allen, he beat Bosch. He beat he looked good in his last fight. He was baiting him, but you can't compare his last opponent to Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker, he should be fighting for world titles again. If they make that fight, that's a. But then again, we know about the heavyweight division, and it could be. Anyone could get slept in that division. Might have to take Wilder round one for nostalgia. That's what I'm talking about, Meech. I love the reasoning for Bosch for nostalgia. Okay. Just to remind everybody, since 2020, Deontay Wilder, going back to the Tyson Fury fight, the second one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Deontay Wilder is 1-4 in his last 5 fights. And he's got stopped 3 times. And guys, we know when a heavyweight is on that trajectory of getting stopped. Big Bang stopped him in the 5th. He lost the decision to Parker. He knocked out Hellenius. Tyson Fury stopped him in the 11th. Tyson Fury stopped him in the 7th. And then he started doing ayahuasca, or mushrooms. It was well documented. I reference that because in my day, I'm not going to lie. I said it right, El Gallo. Has anyone here ever done ayahuasca? I've done it a few times. The reason why I reference that is the fact that if you're in a blood sport and you're a conqueror like Deontay Wilder, and this is what people have brought up in passing, but no one really holds any sort of truth to it, but I think there's truth to it. Ayahuasca is used for people with trauma. It's a traditional Amazonian experience. It's a journey, mentally, spiritually, psychologically. You're guided with shamans. DMT, yeah, it's a dimethyltryptamine. DMT, they call the spirit molecule. It's a neurotransmitter. It's allegedly naturally occurs in our pineal gland. It's found in nature with a mixture of roots, plants. You mix it together. You could do it in the Amazon. The ayahuasca version is a brew. You drink it. It's a long process. I've done the smoke version called Changa. I had a guy on my podcast named Julian Palmer. He was a horticulturalist. This was a couple years ago. He lived up in Queensland. He travels the world now doing seminars. And Google what Changa is, Changa. And he was a botanist. And he figured out if you put together these flowers and these roots and these whatever indigenous to Australia, and you blend it up and you smoke it, it's DMT. So after the podcast, he emailed me this envelope with flowers in it. Anyway, it changes your thought process. Carlos Vargas, I appreciate you. So I've done it before multiple times, years ago, a couple years ago. Vargas, you got here at a good time. We're talking about Deontay Wilder and smoking ayahuasca. And I just think Wilder's whole mind shifted. So if you want to take him for nostalgia, for the knockout, it's a good bet. He should beat Tyler Herndon. Yeah. And Joseph Parker should be fighting for world titles. The heavyweight division's tricky, guys. Just when we think we know who somebody is, a knockout happens. It's tricky. A whole career could change with one punch. A whole career in the heavyweight division with one punch. We've seen it before. The whole legacy of a fighter could change with one punch. It's insane. That's why it's exciting. You know, as a gambling man, yeah, I do too. That's what I'm hoping for, Carlos. I want to see it. I'm tuning in. It's in the Midwest somewhere. Is it in Kansas City? I think that card. You know, I want to see that right hand land again. Yeah, he's been out, so it is a hard one. You know, like I said, he's lost 4 out of his last 5, and 3 out of his last 4 were stoppages. Tony Ferguson, Tevin will beat. I think so too. We started the live stream breaking down guys Farmer versus Schofield. We talked about the pros and cons. We talked about the fight styles. And half of the live stream we're leaning on Kid Austin. The other were Farmer. Yeah. Let's go over Herndon real quick, guys. Herndon's 24-5. 15 knockouts. He's been stopped 4 times. Herndon got knocked out against Kiki Torres. And we know right now in Kiki Torres' career, he's not, you know, he's still developing. So Torres knocked him out in the 2nd round of a 6-rounder. He got stopped against Corey Barlow in the 1st round in a 6-rounder. Brandon Glanton beat him years ago. Yeah, this guy, you know, look at his resume. Wilder should be eaten. Yeah, Wilder should be eaten. He won't beat Shakur. I don't think Floyd beats Farmer. I don't think it's a good matchup. Daniel Vega, Pascal. I'm staying away from John Pascal fight. I don't want to bet on it. I mean, he's 42 years old, right? Isn't Pascal 42 now? I just don't see. I hate losing. So when I say I'm not betting on a guy, I'm not disregarding the fight. I'm coming at it from my channel's perspective. I want to win every bet. Everybody wants to win every bet. So when there's a fight that, you know, a 42-year-old John Pascal, I don't know if I'm going to bet on it. Carlos, pay attention. I said Kid had a better chance to beat Shakur, but he don't beat either. Yeah, and somebody else just said that Zepeda knocks out Shakur. I don't think so, guys. I don't think so. I can't wait for that fight. GBM promotion, mate. What is your GBM promotion, mate, main event? Lloyd Hernandez in the house. That's the fight card that's going on in the UK, isn't it? I'm not getting any fights on that card. I think if Tevin keyed out the first 4 rounds, the pressure is going to be on Floyd. It's only a 10-round fight, too, next gen. So the Kid Austin Farmer fight's a 10-rounder. We talked about this earlier in the stream. What is Schofield's path to victory? What does Schofield do extremely well? I don't have these answers. At 22 years old, Schofield, in my opinion, is still trying to figure all that stuff out. I think Cieslak beats him. If I had to bet on him, I don't think Pascal beats him. Is Billy? We're going to get to that. Here we go. It's starting to heat up again. I think Farmer versus Schofield. Yeah, I think the safe bet on Farmer Schofield, if we want to put a bookend on it, is for the fight to go the distance. It's a 10-rounder. I don't see either guy stopping either guy. I see Farmer fights really well off the back foot. He's slick. He's a good mover. His resume, former world champion, defended the world title multiple times. 2 losses to Zepeda, a loss to Murataya as of late. Who's Schofield fought? Yeah, so if you guys are torn on a money line winner because the money is good on each side, I'm really liking the fight to go the distance. I don't get those odds yet. It's only Tuesday morning here in Australia. So as we get closer to the weekend, the sports book will be opening up those odds. Yeah, Pascal just turned 98, I think. No, he's 42. But we do have fights in Australia. Tomorrow night, Liam Wilson is fighting Ayrton Jimenez, and Liam Perro is fighting John Navarro. I like Zepeda's chances. He has a chance. I mean, so far in Zepeda's career, every time he's fought, and I featured him on the channel, I picked him to win. I picked Zepeda to beat Farmer both times. So I'm a fan of Zepeda. I like how he goes about his work. I like that pressure. I like that pace. That style is a lot to deal with. But one of my favorite fighters is Shakur Stevenson. As a fight fan, as a guy who likes what fighters do in the ring, I love what Shakur does. And I think that, believe it or not, I think Zepeda's fight style is pretty one-dimensional. That sounds crazy when you see all the activity. And that sounds crazy when you see the volume and pressure. But if you were to just bottle up Zepeda's fight style, pressure, volume, pace, you could just put that in a bottle. Shakur's fought. I think Shakur figures that style out pretty easily. I think it's good. I think that style was tailor-made for Shakur to put on a world-class performance. I look at this fight. This is gonna sound crazy, but I'm not comparing. Don't get me wrong when I say this. I'm not comparing Zepeda to George Kambosos Jr. Even though Kambosos was a world champion, full world champion. But when I said that Hitchens was going to put on a viral performance based off of the style, I felt that George was tailor-made for Hitchens to do that. I think Zepeda is tailor-made for Shakur to do the same. I do. You got to look at Shakur. What Shakur does really well, the best way I can look at this visually is imagine a big blender, a blender that blends meat, and you just have this blade, right? And the meat is falling. And every time the meat hits the blade, it's getting blended. That's Zepeda's style. Zepeda is forward, forward, forward. Shakur, with his counter, speed, exit, move, skill, is the blade. And I think it's just going to be that the entire fight. That's how I see it going. And when we look at Zepeda with his knockout to win ratio, all the stoppages, those aren't one-punch knockouts. That's him drowning a lot of guys. Don't get in your feelings. A lot of domestic level opponents in that record, you know, kind of a Jaime Munguia-esque record when Munguia was, what, 41-0, 42-0 sort of thing. So that's all I'm saying. But I'm a big fan. I'm a fan of Zepeda. I'm not trashing him. I'm glad both guys are fighting. I'm glad that they made this fight. I'm glad they're agreeing for this fight. I think it's good for both of their careers, win or lose. You know, both guys are in their 20s. Shakur might be 27. Zepeda might be 27, 28. Off the top of my head, just covering both guys the last 5 years of their careers. So this is the thing. Shakur's brittle hands. It's kind of like that's a genetic thing, guys. You know, it's a genetic thing. Floyd used to break his hands. He changed his style. El Cameron, I think he wins. But I'm a fan of Cameron. So don't get hate when I say my prediction. I could be wrong. Okay, and if he stops him at 9, I'll be the first to say boom. It's a pay-per-view though. Yeah, and people are saying like, you know, have they announced the ring size? Because even though the smaller ring favors the puncher, it's not like Zepeda's a big puncher. But we've seen Shakur. I think a smaller ring, this is going to sound crazy. In terms of what Shakur needs to show his haters, from the perspective of what Shakur needs to show his haters, not that that means anything, not that he even thinks about that, not that he even cares about that, but what he needs to show his haters, I feel a smaller ring would actually benefit Stevenson against Zepeda. I do. Because I think Zepeda's going to run onto a lot of shots. I think he's going to run onto a lot of counters. I think Shakur, you know, has more power than people think, just based off of his timing. And it's wild for me to see that, you know, the hate he gets is, you know, what against the De Los Santos. But I like what I saw. I like that fight. I hate bullies. I was a small guy. I didn't go through puberty until late. You know, I'm just a shade. I tell people I'm 5'11". I'm a shade under 6 foot, but I would never say 6 foot. 5'11's a height. You know, so I didn't grow until my late teens. I learned to box when I was 7. So I dealt my whole life with bullies. I dealt with guys who, you know, in and out of the ring at school, bullies, just bigger dudes. And, you know, growing up, falling in love with boxing and my dad's favorite sport, we watched boxing together. I come from a boxing town. When I'm watching De Los Santos versus Shakur, I liked that fight. I liked it because you had Edwin De Los Santos with this game plan, with this aggressive thing, with this one-dimensional look in his eyes, and he couldn't do anything. He couldn't hit him. He couldn't execute a game plan. He landed less punches than Shakur. Look at the stats. That says something. In a ring, he ran. Okay, if it was on a basketball court, if the dimensions were a basketball court or a soccer field, he'd run. But guys, these are boxers. It's called the squared circle for a reason. Why is it called the squared circle? I talked about this on a stream a month ago. It's called the squared circle because the circumference of a circle is 360 degrees. 360 degrees divided by 4 is 90. 4 90-degree angles make up the boxing ring. Why is this relevant? These are lifelong boxers. They have fought from day one. Edwin De Los Santos, from the first minute he wrapped his hands, learned how to cut the ring off based off of the physics of the 90-degree angles. You start in the center. You want to get a guy in the corner. You do your footwork, exit left, exit right. You cut him off. You don't want to get him against the ropes. You use the physics of the ring for your advantage. Great world-class fighters either do that offensively or defensively. De Los Santos showed that he couldn't do that. How is that not? That, to me, was the fight within the fight. That was super intriguing. Rewatch the fight and watch it from a physics eye point. What Shakur was doing. I didn't even bring up, I don't know if his hands were hurt. That's not even part of my narrative. The part of my narrative is De Los Santos has a game plan, wants to hurt Shakur, wants to knock him out, wants to punch him, and couldn't. And couldn't. I loved it. I've watched that fight multiple times. I still like that fight. Sorry. I don't listen to the announcers. I don't care what your favorite YouTube channels say. I don't care what the boxing media says. I don't care what Turkey El Sheikh says. I don't care what people say about runners. They are idiots. Being a mover is part of boxing. It's called boxing. Having defense is part of boxing. Now, can Shakur work on not exiting? He made the adjustment in his last fight. Granted, you know, it was a late replacement, the English kid. But can he make the adjustment of not exiting too far? So here's my defense of De Los Santos, because I'm not one-sided. So you can't say I'm glazing Shakur, because here's my defense on De Los Santos. Where the hate should have been, though, and this is kind of day 2 boxing. I teach this with my corporates, day 2 boxing, when we're teaching footwork and decision-making in a fight. Now, I'm not training my clients to become boxers, but I'm teaching them how to fight. We're not just holding pads. We're doing situational boxing. I'm teaching them footwork from the ground up, teaching them how to feint, how to throw combos, how to slip, how to fight in the clinch, how to fight at distance, all of this stuff. So when we get to day 2, metaphorically day 2, you know, day 1 is how to throw a punch. Day 2, we're doing footwork. I tell them, and this is in relation to Shakur versus Edwin De Los Santos, so this is the hate Shakur was getting. I tell day 2 people learn how to box is, don't ever let your opponent back you up more than 2 steps. Because based on the circumference of the ring, when you get backed up 2 steps, you have a couple decisions to make. You either have to make a decision to punch with them after 2 steps, circle right, or circle left, or engage. So that was a rule I grew up on. That's young. Watch how Pavlik fought. Youngstown, Ohio. Maybe it's the style I come from. But it was taught into me as a young kid, don't let your opponent push you back farther than 2 steps without making a decision, okay? So when I was watching the fight and you rewatch it, Shakur obviously was moving back more than 2 steps. So what I wanted him to do is, you know, make a decision rather than exit, and he wasn't doing that. So I get all that. I understand all that. It wasn't a perfect fight, but he won the fight, and he neutralized the big puncher's offense. Can we say that? He neutralized an arsenal that everybody knew was going to happen, and he just neutralized it. with his arsenal. That's what happened. He didn't just turn his back and run. He used his arsenal to neutralize his arsenal. That's why he won. That's boxing. That's the art of boxing. So, Turkey al-Sheikh, no running rule. Bitch, you never fought before. I don't know if Showbiz has ever fought, but I know he's going through no running. It's like, dude, you don't even look like you work out, mate. And I'm not trying to hate on you. So, like, if you're going to come from a perspective, a narrative that somebody is a runner and this guy is a 3-division world champion and you're not even in shape, dude, you need to say less. For real, for real. That's all I'm going to say. And if you're a guy who just has, you know, your pockets are lit and you can make, you know, you can make power moves in a sport that's been around longer before you were here and it'll be around longer after you were here, I want to see you throw hands too. I'm just an old head. That's it. That's it. End of rant. But yeah, I don't think Shakur's a finished product. Let's get this chicken. Jay Grizzy in the house. We're about an hour in, guys. It's 7:30. I'll keep this on for a little bit more. Like this video. We're floating between 50 and 70 right now on the live. It's Tuesday morning. We got boxing Wednesday night here in Australia, in Queensland. The Great Barrier Reef. Liam Perro's fighting Johnny Navarro. Liam Wilson is fighting Ayrton Jimenez. I think the Saudis got it out for Shakur. I just think, I don't know if it's that deep, David. I don't know if it's that deep. I don't think. Do you guys know what sports washing is? Do you know what sports washing is? And this is probably as political as I'll get on my channel. But on other channels, I don't use my name. I get real political in other areas. But this is my boxing channel. Has anyone heard do you know what sports washing is? This is my whole, when people say that the Saudis don't like Tank or the Saudis don't like Shakur, they don't care about him. They don't care about Bud. They don't care about Canelo. Turkey doesn't care about boxing. Turkey doesn't care about the ring. This is sports washing. Go back to more recent times, World War II. Go back to Nazi Germany. Go back to Hitler when the Olympics were in Germany. Sports washing is when a country has a authoritarian, communistic regime, call it what you will, fill in the blanks, tyrannical regime, and they use sports as a guise, as a disguise, as a distraction to the world to kind of soften the blow of what's really going on politically, geopolitically. So all you have to do is watch a couple documentaries about what happened with, these are facts. I'm not trying to get into propaganda. I'm not trying to get conspiratorial here. But when people ask me about, do they care about a fighter? They don't care about boxing. Go back to Jamal Khashoggi. Jamal Khashoggi was a Washington Post journalist. Go and look at what happened in the Turkey, the consulate there with the Saudis. Yeah, they did a PGA. They did it with golf. Look what they're doing with the F1 racing right now. So what I'm saying is, and art. Look what they're doing with art. So there's a huge. They're doing it with art as well. It's just taking the distraction off of the real main objective. I mean, you could say America. Okay, I didn't say you couldn't, but I was just negating the narrative that they're acting a certain way because they're in their feelings about a boxer. That's all I'm saying. Mabili, Selecki, Zerto. I like them all to win. But Dana sold out moons ago, Ferguson. No, if anything, you got that flipped. I was sad to see Turkey sell out to Dana. Dana sold out many moons ago. This is a guy who got run out of Boston. This is a guy who's a boxing guy in Boston. Read it, do your research. I'm sure you have. Gets run out of Boston in the boxing space due to promoters and the mob. Gets to Las Vegas early. In my opinion, it's the greatest American entrepreneurial steal of the last 100 years when he pitched to the Fertitta brothers in Vegas, like 2001, 2002, to buy a failing UFC. I think it might have been Zuffa at the time, $1 or $2 million. I think he got it for $1 or $2 million, the loan, and then they sell for $4 billion. That's the greatest entrepreneurial steal in history, in the last 100 years at least. Search sports watching, the first years of sports watching Saudi Arabia, and then type in Hitler, and then type in the Munich Olympics, the Olympic Games, when I'm pretty sure it was Jesse Owens, from Columbus, Ohio, who the Nazis had to pretend that they liked because he was destroying all the Germans in all the track and field events. African-American from Ohio. I'm pretty sure went to Ohio State. And it's a famous, iconic scene. But, they took all their propaganda down for those Olympics. It's documented. I'm not bringing up propaganda. This happened. But this is what's going on right now. And Next Gen said the same can be said, but the same that's kind of wrong actually. Yeah, he did cook everyone. A kid in a man's body opposite Hezbollah. What? I don't know. Every time I see Hezbollah, I laugh. He makes me laugh. Hezbollah's a distraction, though. They send Hezbollah to all the UFC events. Send the little guy. Soften the narrative a little bit. But yeah, we gotten some juicy ones here. Over an hour. Like I said, I'll stay on as long as we want. We'll see if we could keep this above 60. Let's get these likes up though. All I ask for you guys been asking me to do Patreons and little side quests with like memberships. I'll give you all my picks here. I'll give you all my predictions here. Just like the channel, subscribe to the channel. I missed that. Somebody, if you could re-ask that sports washing question, I'll get to you. I just missed it. How did Dana sell out if he just tried boxing and failed? Okay, I'm saying he sold out. Yeah, do your research. I'm saying he sold out UMMA fans. Well, Bright Destroyer, bro, that's cool. I got here in 2013. Let me get to the Dana selling out. Tony, I'm saying he sold out, and I'm an MMA head, old school. I still watch every UFC fight. I'm saying he sold out the UFC. Now, I think what America does, Next Gen, with the sports, and is a distraction. And this is going to sound, now I'm getting conspiratorial. Now we're opening up a can of worms. But I come from a town, well, sports watching is a bad thing regarding the distraction of what's really going on geopolitically. We'll bookend that. But the problem with American sports, to answer your question, where I was talking about, is I come from a town south of Cleveland, Ohio. So professional sports in America, in my opinion, this is based off of how I was raised. You know, we have 3 major sports teams: Cleveland Cavs, Cleveland Indians, Cleveland Browns. So I watched my father, I watched my uncles, I watched my friends all growing up year round. Year round. Invest. This is going to sound controversial. Invest so much time and energy to their favorite pro sports team. One season would end, the Browns would not make the playoffs, the Cavs season would have already started. The Cavs get eliminated, the Indians would have already started. And you have this cycle for months, 4 years, 4 generations. And what's that do? That takes the focus, drive, motivation, creativity off of the individual to want to, let's say, build something, be creative, have not work, get however emotional you want to do to get about it. But what the pro sports system does is, I think it's a huge distraction. We have grown men, don't get offended, who wear other men's names on their shirts, which is insane to me. I've never done that. So now you guys are kind of getting to know me a bit. Like the whole, I'm going to wear an athlete's jersey and, have another dude's last name on my shirt. That was always weird to me. When I was a little kid, that was cool, but grown men, but that's not our fault. That's the systems that are in place in America. I think a lot of that is a distraction. There's a lot of guys I know who in that season, that cycle, they're drinking alcohol, they're eating shit food, they're smoking cigarettes, they're not sleeping well, they're going, it's all kind of like, so in a way, if you're saying, I'm not a big fan of that. I didn't realize that until I moved to Australia though, which is crazy. So it took me to leave that. I got here in 2013 to see that. I'm an old head guy. I'm 43. It's hard, I'm just trying to live well, live healthy, help people. That's all I'm trying. I'm not trying to be controversial. And I'm not judging anybody. You asked me for my opinion. I'm not judging anyone. My dad died young. I bring that up. If you get my latest book, last chapter, I talk about this actually. My father went from a really healthy, and I'm sure a lot of you guys probably have stories like this or know somebody like this who just kind of I watched for the last 25 years of his life just not do shit, just gain all this weight, get real lazy. His whole willingness to live was based on if his team won. If his team lost, he wouldn't talk to us for a week. It was insane. Yeah, so the longer you're here, the one thing you'll get from my channel is I'm going to be as authentic as I can be. I won't ever front on you guys. Kneeling. Are we referencing Colin Kaepernick? Which one are we referencing? Next Gen. I like the questions too. This is what I always tell at the beginning of my live streams. We stay on topic, and then as we get longer, it turns into the Wild West. So it's one. This is where it gets juicy. So Next Gen, I must have missed something. You said with the kneeling. I'm assuming you're referring to Colin Kaepernick. Or, yeah, it's an insane, man. It's an insane situation. I brought him up. I was winning money on Colin Kaepernick in college when he played quarterback at the University of Nevada. Did you watch the Lethway documentary? Thanks, Landslide. I had to re-upload it. It initially had 50,000 views. As you can tell, it was initially uploaded in 2021, but that's a re-upload 6 months ago. And we were in the film. We went to film festivals with it. And yeah, for like 2 years of my life, it was my whole life. That's how I learned to do editing and all that good stuff. But it's up, guys, in the post section. He's referencing my documentary that I got invested. We got it funded. We went to Sony with it. But Colin Kaepernick's situation, I watched him play at the University of Nevada. He did so much for that college football program, the Wolfpack. Right when they went from a Division I AA school to a Division I school, I think they either won the conference or played in a bowl game. He was a stud going into the pros. He was that like that what would you call it? The quarterback who could run, the quarterback who could throw. He was big, and he got sort of blacklisted for making a political statement. Now, for me to judge either way, the people who agree with it or disagree with it, it's just kind of like, I think, I don't want to say a hole, but sort of like a flaw in our system in America with sports and how things sometimes get convoluted and what's really going on, the powers that be, the money, dual threat. Yeah. And he was a smart, made decisions too. He was just molding into the guy. And it just kind of just shows you like what's really happening in terms of who's making the decisions, who's pulling the strings, the power at play, how politics matter, how the public image matters, and then the virtue signaling from huge organizations. And now we're in a day and age, guys, where it's just chaos. We can't just watch our favorite sport anymore without sort of being fed some political statement, whether you agree with it or disagree with it. I try to stay neutral. Even the politics I pay attention to, I stay neutral. PJ, I'm going to email you back, PJ, and we're going to go over the semantics. I have to make sure it's legal on my end. I'm not at 43 years old. I used to be a lawbreaker. In my early 20s, I was a madman. I would drive, I would transport whatever you wanted for me past state lines when I was living in LA. But at this stage of the game, I want to make sure that it's legal for me to put bets on internationally. That's it. I'm an ethical guy. So I'll get back to you. Alvarez Films link. It's in, if you're talking about the doco, it's in, I just posted on my posts, but go to playlists, documentaries. It's about Lethway. It's about bare knuckle Muay Thai where the headbutt is legal. So there's a sport that dates back 2,000 years in Burma, the old Burmese empire, which is modern day Myanmar. Johnny Wardley versus Allen. How would you see it going? Oh, great call. And isn't Parker supposed to fight Allen? But Wardley versus Allen? It's a tough one. How do you see it going? Both guys coming off huge victories. Both guys coming off knockouts. How do you... dude, it's a good matchup. I'd watch it. It's a good matchup. Our rates are way better. PJ, we'll figure something out, brother. I'll get back to you. I'll hit you up, obviously, in the next few hours. Because what's up, Chadwick? Just woke up, by the way. Right now, Chad, I got Farmer. I had a coworker that was from Myanmar, and he told me about the headbutting. Yeah. Bro, I did a documentary with the world champion, Next Gen, named Dave LeDuc. I traveled with him for 2 years to Cyprus, to LA, to Myanmar. And what was happening is it was supposed to be the first ever Lethway world title in America. And we were documenting that whole journey. We went to Sony Pictures, got it funded, and then the pandemic happened. So we started the documentary in January of 2019. and went all the way up until March of 2020, and then that's when the world shut down. So I had to actually, if you watch the doco, I had to finish the documentary in my studio here, my studio room. Taylor or Serrano? Right now, I like Serrano. I gotta do a bit more study. I'll give you my prediction at the end of the week. There's some good fights on that card, guys. But I'm gonna be uploading the Liam Perro breakdown versus Johnny Navarro. If you haven't checked the breakdown on Wilson versus Jimenez, that's on the channel. Schofield versus Farmer breakdown is coming up tomorrow. And we're about 75 minutes in. I'm going to leave it on for a little bit longer. Let's see. I know. Dude, Serrano, there's so much to like about her, how she fights. She can't get a break, can she? Maybe we put Serrano up there with, like, Farmer and Sandor Martin in terms of losing decisions. Because some of those decisions Serrano lost in terms, like, I watched the fight. I'm like, how'd she lose? Who do you think is better, boxer, Zepeda? Zepeda. I'm very high on William Zepeda. If you've been on this live stream this whole time, you probably just heard me talk about how Shakur beats Zepeda. But the more you know me, I'm a big fan of Zepeda. Mac, what did I miss? I will. Landslide. I will. I'll post sparring. Mac, what did I miss? I always respect Mac's takes because he doesn't always agree, and I like that about you. You said we're crazy about something. I have 2 published books. Google I published 2 books. Just Google my name and you'll see the books come up. Right now at this stage of the game, I use the channel strictly for boxing. My author and my publishing company sells the books, and I get like a little bit of a check every month. But I wrote my first book in 2020, and my second one came out in 2023. The first publisher was out of New York. This one, the latest book, The 24-Hour Reset, right there, was a Melbourne publisher called Shawline. But Mac, what were you saying about we're crazy? Like I said, we're going into our 80th minute. I'll leave this on for a little bit longer. Like this video. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. It's a big week, guys. Stay tuned to the channel. Hit the bell notification button too, because you'll be notified. I mean, I do live streams every day. I upload prediction videos, the edited ones, daily. We got a lot to do. So stay tuned to the channel. I'll leave this on for a couple more minutes, see if questions come in. If Mac's still on the live stream, I want to see if he's still here. Because amongst all this chatter, he disagreed on something. I just want to see what that was. Current prediction, Canelo Crawford. Katie don't have the power. Yeah, I agree. Current prediction, Canelo versus Crawford. Jeez, that's a tough one. I don't like doing future predictions. You guys know how I feel about that. I'm a big fan of both guys. All I'm going to say is I picked Crawford to beat EJ, and EJ was my favorite fighter at the time. I'm high on Crawford, but Canelo's an animal too. I definitely, if people were thinking Bud is going to fight the guy who just fought Skull, I don't think he's, I thought Serrano, me too. I think Canelo held back against Skull. I think it's fair to say that. I'm only saying that, Alvarez, is because in terms of who I'm predicting, the longer you are on my channel, I've been known to bet against my favorite fighters. That was my point. I'm not a fanboy. Just because I like a fighter doesn't mean I'm going to bet on him. Sometimes it works for me, sometimes it doesn't. Marcel Selly Wap in the house. Haven't seen you on a live in a while. I salute. So if Mac is still on, one last call. What were you disagreeing with us about? Turkey confirmed this is Bud's retirement fight. I mean, what is he, 37 now, 38? Jab and run. It's a tough hill to climb as a Bud fan. For Bud to fight Canelo, it's a tough hill to climb. Vegas Larfield's a good fighter. Good question. He's a good little prospect. Lost a close fight here domestically. He's fighting on the Liam Perro undercard. He's a fun fighter, fun little guy. Jab, move out the way. To be honest, I don't think Crawford could fight like Skull if he wanted it. Guys, here's my point about Crawford. Let's just get into this now then. It's really hard for me to pick Bud, not just because of his path and his journey. Because I think he should have took a fight at 160. I think he should have or fight another fight after the Majumov fight. He hasn't. That's really important. Staying busy and staying active, staying sharp is really, really important. So not having, and then you look at the inactivity, he fought EJ July of 2023. He fought Madrimov August of 2024. He's fighting Canelo September of 2025. It's a pretty, dude, that is Canelo, say what you will about him, but Canelo stays active. Bud's not going to pull out. No, he's not going to pull out. No, Bud's that dude. That's why you got to love Bud. Bud 100% thinks he's going to beat up Canelo. I don't know what his path to victory is, though. When is the last time we saw Canelo hurt? What's his path to victory? How do you and how does Bud beat Canelo? How, like, tactically, what's his game plan? Because when I picked Bud to beat EJ, I thought that game plan would beat EJ. I thought Errol Spence's marauding jab-heavy style was way too predictable and one-dimensional for Crawford's style. Considering Bud could go both ways, Bud could punch off the side, Bud can angle. He has power in both hands. But Canelo's not a marauding jab-heavy first southpaw. And Canelo is a 147 fighter. This fight's at 168. 168. EJ was 147. Madrimov was 154. Nothing happened at 60. The guy's at 60. Janibek Alamhanaleh is a champion at 60. Carlos Adames is a champion at 60. So I use those references. And, we've seen Bud in 2017 spar against Adames. But I think Bud was a 140-pounder, and Adames might have been a 147 when they sparred. That footage, you guys have seen that footage before, I'm sure of. But Canelo, this is a 168, guys. We can't look past that. Bud's fan base, true blue fan base, shouldn't look past that. You can't just say, oh, it doesn't matter. He's Bud Crawford. It matters. It 100% matters. Bud's 30, close to 37. Canelo's 34, 35. Mate, it's a tough fight. It's a tough fight. You know what? What I'm more excited to see, this might come off the wrong way. I don't think Bud has to win for his legacy to be improved versus Canelo. I think Bud could lose this fight and still elevate his legacy with how he fights. That's going to be the narrative. But at the same time, I think with all the great things he's done, 4-division world champion, undisputed at 40 and 47, first male to ever do that. I feel he could hurt his legacy with the same sentiment with how he fights based on fans. No, I want to see. That's all I'm saying. You could fill in the blanks, but do you agree with me or disagree on me with that? Because we know what do we know? What's the character Crawford has created for himself? When you look at a fighter, when you look at the character of Bud Crawford is a guy who is a mean guy, who fights mean, who fights with a chip on his shoulder, who fights like the world's against him, who's been shot in the head before, who comes from a rough part of Nebraska. It's been well documented, his upbringing. This is his character. This is who he is. So if in this fight, if it is his last fight, and we don't see that guy against Canelo, and we see a guy who is cosplaying as Bud just to get paid, I think that hurts him. I don't want to see that. I don't. So if it is a guy who gets knocked out, who's aggressive, who just gets beaten down, maybe who starts off really competitive, and later the fight goes, he's fighting with pride, and he's fighting, with his spirit, and he gets stopped. I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't. But that's what's interesting to me. That's what I'm looking for. Well, that's what I'm going to be looking at. We know what Canelo's going to do. Canelo is going to try to stop him. It's an exciting. That's what makes it exciting. You can be disillusional about, and fall in love with what Bud is doing outside and what the statistics will say. But I think the most exciting bit is what's going to happen when the bell rings psychologically? I'm seeing folks betting on draws lately. That's crazy work. That's 2 live streams in a row. Unless that's been you twice, Hand History Vault. Betting on the draw. So, yeah. Let me know how you guys feel about that. That's all I'm saying. I feel Bud could get stopped and still improve his legacy. I think it's going to come down to how he fights. I'm really expecting... I don't know what to expect with how he fights. Canelo's always trying to knock his opponents out except Munguia. He's not successful anymore. You don't think he carried Munguia? You don't think he carried him? That happens in boxing. You know what I'm saying? You don't think he carried him? Unless... I don't think the Vegas judges are going to be that pro Canelo. I see Bud as Jermaine after he beat Hopkins. Fame is getting to his head. You know... In steps Kelly Pavlik. They don't want to give Canelo a loss unless they have to. But Canelo has losses. My grandpa and his grandfather both die hard. Canelo has one of the best chins. Yep. He's Bar Munguia, inshallah. So, yeah. It's an intriguing fight. I'm definitely tuning in. 100%. And if the rumors are true about what they're throwing... You've seen the B-Vol BS. Oh, you're talking about the scorecards, Marcel. Yeah, but Bivol, foreign fighter, you know, Bud's an American. Yeah. Well, I mean, we could go back to Triple G. Dude, Triple G won that first fight. Come on now. Sorry, Canelo fans. I don't even think that first fight was close. Sorry. Rewatch it. Yeah, 100%. It wasn't even close. I was shocked. It was a shocking. I couldn't believe it. So, but once again, foreigner. You know, guy. You know, I think that matters in Vegas. I'm not saying because Vegas is America, but it's Bud Crawford. Yeah. Exactly. Especially when you look at now the narrative, how it's been written about Triple G. I hear people talking like, oh, he wasn't that good, blah, blah, blah. You guys are insane. Triple G is one of the best middleweights. Come on, dude. Triple G's chin, just his chin, and just his willingness to fight you. That's what I'm talking about, the spirit. We want to see, as boxing fans, we don't want to see guys get hurt, but we want to see the spirit of these guys. Canelo's beaten already. Why do you say Canelo's beaten already? Canelo avoided him until he got old. Oh, hold on. Still lost. I must have missed something. Gabe Rosado. 100%. I put his chin up there. I mean, I put his chin up there with Marvin Hagler. Do you think Pascal will upset Michael Silslack? No. Pascal, I don't think so. Pascal, to me, guys, 42 years old. But once again, what do I know? Nonito Donaire was 42. He beat Campos. Prime Triple G versus Bud would be a banger. What weight class, though, DJ? Because what is Prime Bud? Prime Triple G's 160. Prime Bud is what, 47? Yeah. Yeah, we learned Canelo could take a shot, dude. He got a thick neck, a thick head. Yeah. We can't just be changing weight classes, guys. We can't use the word prime and then change weight classes when the said fighters have different primes in different weight classes. That's the one I'm talking about next gen. Now what we're talking, Prime Triple G versus Prime Hagler. God, sign me up. Sign me up. It's tough for me to go against Hagler, though. I'm an old head. Marvin Hagler, dude, come on, dude. He beat Ray. I still think he beat Ray. Come on. Hagler just wilded out after that decision and just became a movie star in Italy. Do you guys know that? I think I'm leaning... PJ, whatever I'm leaning on, at least I can side with my reason. Whatever reason I come to terms with. And the crazy thing, the wild thing about me is I've been thinking about this fight for months, for almost a year. I've been thinking about having to break down this fight when it would come, because we've known this fight was going to come down like a year ago, and I was like, shit. When this fight gets made official, I'm gonna have to make a prediction. So I've been thinking about it. It's been rent free in my head for over a year. So yeah, I'm not saying. I've been going back and forth. Sometimes I'm saying the weight class. The weight matters, man. Being durable matters. Age matters. We'll see. But yeah, did you? A lot of you guys know Marvin Hagler when he got robbed against? I think he got robbed against Sugar. He retired. I think Hagler was 29 or 30, and then he moved to Italy and became a movie star. Then he never boxed again. He was like, "I'm done with boxing. This place is corrupt." And this is why this is what people don't know. This is why they wear the war hat. I love these like new YouTube fans because Derek Chisora. Chisora wears the war red hat, and you see all these fighters wear the war hat. That's Marvin Hagler. Watch Hagler training in the 80s. He would scream, "War!" while running in the snow. Hagler was an animal. He was famous for quoting, it's tough to stay motivated while sleeping in silk sheets. So he purposefully would make his training camps as uncomfortable as possible so he could be war ready. So I just want you guys to know that's a Marvin Hagler thing, the war thing. So some people, if you're gonna, you got to pay homage to the OGs. The first fight with Hagler and Leonard is similar to the first. Yes, Alvarez Films. Now we're talking. Yeah, I only brought Chisora up because of the Hagler connection. Sometimes we got to remind these young bucks on what time it really is. It's 8 a.m., guys. That's what time it really is. We're going on. This is the longest live stream I've done in a while. I got to get to some editing and uploading. I got to call my girl. I think what's the next session I got? Tuesday. I'm free. I could stay on. We'll keep it on a little bit longer. Like this video, guys, wherever you're tuning in at. We have to keep in mind Turkey likely wants at least 2 fights. Hold on. Bud and Canelo? I didn't hear that. He wants 2 fights? I thought you said that he was retiring. Or I must have missed something. I didn't know that. So is this being spoken about? Are they talking about whoever loses gets a rematch? Showbiz is in the house. When are you doing that Australia card? Wednesday morning here. Marcel, I already uploaded the breakdown of Liam Wilson, and I will be live streaming Australia card. Yeah, so my prediction for Liam Wilson is already up, and I'll be live streaming during the fight. Yeah, I got you, Marcel. Yeah, Showbiz. We had the clone Showbiz is in the crib. Clone Papa Haney shows up. We've seen clone Turkey Al-Ashik in the house today. But yeah, the clone counts are popping lately. All right, guys, I got to get to it. I got work to do, all right? Stay tuned to the channel. I'm going to be uploading Liam Paro next. And then I'm going to be uploading Floyd Schofield and Farmer. Whenever you catch this, like it, comment, subscribe. I appreciate all you guys. Let's do it. Let's get that money.